This is a tremendous room and one that doesn't need any amplification, and we're very grateful to have the opportunity to bring the Senator to the venue and talk a little bit about clean air issues today. We have with us, as everyone in the room already knows, Senator Gillibrand, newest senator from New York, and hopefully will be with us for a very long time. She has a rather lengthy schedule today, but has set aside some time for this discussion. And what we will do is I will introduce the other panel members in just a moment and give them each a chance to say a little bit about what's going on in Washington and what we hope will be happening sometime soon. Give the Senator another chance to say whatever she thinks she needs to add, and then I'd like to open it to questions, if that's all right, folks. So, to the right of the Senator, we have Brian Houseel, my boss, the Executive Director of the Adirondack Council. To his right, David Higbee, Director of Federal Government Relations for the Nature Conservancy. And to his right is Neil Woodworth, Executive Director of the Adirondack Mountain Club. We have with us today also the Chairman of the Hamilton County Board of Supervisors, Bill Farmer, past Chairman of the Adirondack Park Agency, John Collins, the local Blue Mountain Lake resident, and Town Supervisor hiding in the back there, our good friend Barry Hutchins. Senator? I'm sorry? Oh, and Carolyn Welsh, Executive Director of the museum, is with us today too. I'm remiss for not mentioning that. Senator Gilbert.
Sure. Well, thank you for being here. I'm really grateful that you all took time out of your day so we can talk about some of these important issues. Now is the time to really debate climate change because there are 6 committees in the Senate that have jurisdiction over drawing up this bill, and I'm on 3 of them. I'm on Environment and Public Works, I'm on Foreign Relations, and I'm also taking a leadership role on the Agriculture Committee. So those 3 committees really will make a big difference on what this climate change bill will ultimately look like. Each of these 3 groups here, these extraordinary advocacy institutions, have been at the forefront of really the advocacy to make sure this bill reflects where we need to go over the next decade in terms of turning climate change around and truly representing this part of the nation. The Adirondacks are overwhelmingly affected by what kind of regulations we have in place. And one of the biggest problems with the House bill was that it created an exception for the Clean Air Act for coal. So it was giving an exception for the dirtiest coal plants in the nation to continue to pollute without any oversight by the Clean Air Act. And obviously that's something that is very damaging to the Adirondacks. We have grave concerns about acid rain, about mercury levels, about the quality of our air. And in New York State, we have some of the highest asthma rates in the country. So our air and our water is very important to all of us. And so as a member of those 3 key committees, I'm going to be a very strong advocate to make sure that we can fight back on these issues and really protect our families and protect the natural resources that we are so blessed to have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over so we can have a very lively discussion on these issues, and I'll let you guys direct the conversation.
Whatever you like to do. If you'd rather stay at the table and talk, that's fine. I think that's fine.
Let's stay at the table.
I think it'll be easier.
First and foremost, I want to thank Senator Gillibrand for taking the time to come to Hamilton County and speaking with us on clean air issues. We all know that over the past 30 or 40 years, this area has been hit very hard by acid rain, and it's one of the issues that we'd like to speak with the Senator about today. In 1990, the Clean Air Act amendment began to take a look at acid rain deposition throughout the Adirondacks. In the recent Bush administration, there was action taken by the Environmental Protection Agency on the Clean Air Interstate Rule, but problems have not been totally resolved. We're seeing that in the Big Moose Lake here in Hamilton and Herkimer County on the border, there's worsening damage to the water quality. We also know that both songbirds and other species are being hit by mercury as it's consumed by them in the terrestrial habitats that they frequent in the park. I would be speaking about common ground when I say to the Senator that I think both the environmental community as well as our local elected officials and our civic groups all know about acid rain and the need to include it in the clean air climate change bill. Insofar as the Clean Air Interstate Rule has made some important changes, we now feel that there has to be federal legislation to finally bracket down the levels for acid rain within the climate change bill. I know the Senator has heard from hundreds of Northern New York and upstate New York constituents about the need to include acid rain in the climate change bill, and we're hoping that she will back the language that Senator Carper from Delaware has included in the climate change bill. In addition, we'd like to see that there is money placed in the bill to make sure that monitoring, long-term monitoring about acid rain and climate change continues with our Time LTM and CastNet networks, which have been scientific efforts to inform the EPA and our federal government about needs to bring about further reductions in acid deposition, and I'm sure that this will also be true when we take a hard look at carbon dioxide. So, Senator, thank you for being here with us today. We hope we can count on your support. We appreciate it.
David Higby?
Thanks very much. Brian, thank you for telling me that Big Moose was suffering from climate change. I'm outraged. My family moved to Big Moose right after the war. That was the Revolutionary War. That's true. They were hunting and fishing guys going back to the 18th century. The Nature Conservancy considers climate change to be the largest single threat to its mission, which is to preserve diversity on life, diversity of life on Earth. And so we have moved quickly and aggressively to try to find our place in this debate. For one thing, we belong to USCAP, which is a historic coalition of large commercial entities, including people like General Electric and Duke Energy, and NRDC, and the Nature Conservancy, and Environmental Defense. And that group has come to an amazing consensus about what needs to be done about climate change, and that's the cap and trade bill. One of the things that we recommended was 20% reduction from 2005 levels by 2015, which is in the Senate bill. Thank you very much, Senator. Which is even more aggressive than what the House bill had. The Nature Conservancy has other specific places where we feel that we can be helpful. About 40% of, we're the largest environmental group in the world, and about 40% of our people are actually scientists. And we have started to and continue to contribute our responsible science to this debate in a number of specific areas, some of which are very important to the Adirondacks. For instance, there's a domestic and foreign forestry credits, which are an important part of that. There's adaptation, natural system adaptation money, which it should be part of the proceeds from the credits of the program, both, as I say, both domestic and international. And lastly, but certainly not least, we want to make sure that New York State's historic leadership with being the protector of the acid rain, NOx, but also ozone and mercury parts of the Clean Air Act is maintained. Already we're on track to do that, and as the Senator said, she might be uniquely positioned to do something about this because of the three committees that she sits on, Ag, EPW, and Foreign Affairs. And we look forward to working with you on all of those things. And just in closing these initial remarks, I want to convey another thank you from somebody else. Rob Davies, who is the state forester, called me last night and said, I just found out about the supplemental ag and domestic forestry piece that was put in there, and I understand that Senator Gillibrand had something to do with it, and I said, she certainly did, and I gave him the names of the people on her staff that should be thanked, and I said, but Rob, I can also convey personal thanks tomorrow night, because I'll be seeing the Senator. So
Thank you.
The state forester is very appreciative of what you've done. It will mean a great deal not only to private and public forest owners in New York, but also probably